Tom, and he lived by the railroad tracks in a shack. His shack had a roof. His shack had a tree outside in the front yard. It was an apple tree, and his friend was named George. And I cannot tell a lie, that tree produced really crappy apples. So Tom went to town and bought a bag of apples because his tree produced crappy apples. He brought the apples home on his bicycle with the basket in the front and a little daisy pinwheel thing floating in the wind. And he said, "Mom, I got a bag of apples at the store because our tree produces apples that are crap and George didn't cut it down. I cannot tell a lie." And his mom said, "That's fine, Hummingbird. I'm gonna bake you a pie. And if you don't find a diamond ring in that pie, I'm gonna buy you a PlayStation." So she went to the Sears and bought the PlayStation, Craftsman PlayStation by Ken Moore, and it washed the laundry because you stir the pot with a handle. A handle is a handle from a pot. That's a handle. It's not like the panhandle of Florida where Jake lives. You know, Jake goes to the beach every day because there's no apple trees there. And if he had an apple tree, he'd make a coconut pie with the cream on top. That would be yummy.
At the end?
Oh, sorry viewers, that's the end. You just have to tune in tomorrow for part 5. So the other day we talked about Tom and George and Tom's crappy apples.
Today we're going to do part 7 of the story about the day that Tom went to the snow.
Tom left his crappy apples in his yard and left his mom behind.
He took his car that had a flat tire, and he said, "Oh, poop, my car has a flat tire. I can't drive to the snow with my car with a flat tire." So he went to his friend's house next door, George, who cannot tell a lie, didn't cut the tree down. And they said, "George, let's take your van to the mountains with the snow, because my car has a flat tire and my tree has crappy apples." And George, who cannot tell a lie and didn't cut the tree down, says, "Let's take my van to the snow, away from your crappy apples and away from the tree I didn't cut down. I cannot tell a lie." And Tom said, "Radio." George, who cannot tell a lie, grabbed his van keys, and they got into the van. They started and they were in the van, and it rides a little rough. So George drove. And they did that for 4 hours, all the way up the windy road to the mountains. So when they were in the windy roads, you know, they all the way up the windy road. And then it got snowy, so George had to put it in 4-wheel drive.
Up the mountain, they finally made it to the snowy mountain. Got out of the car. Like that.
Into the mountains, they put on their boots.
And they walked up the hill in the snow. And they said, "Hey, it's snowing," because the snowfall was coming down to their hand like little crystals of ice, because that's what snow is. So Tom and George, who didn't cut down the tree, I cannot tell a lie, they went skiing like that, because their poles were too long, so they're up here.
Down the mountain they went.
They took off their skis and their boots and they said, "We've had enough." So they grabbed a coffee.
And they went outside with their cups, and it was cold, so they were shaking like this. Found their friend Jenny, and they said, "Jenny, you want to ride home in our van?" And she said, "Okay, but can I bring my pet iguana? His name is Fred." And they said, "Okay." They got in the van. It was Tom, George, who didn't cut the tree down, I cannot tell a lie, Jenny, and her pet iguana Fred, and they rode in the van all the way down the mountain.
Like, the van was even rougher all the way down because it was cold.
Tune in for the next episode, episode 5, and we'll find out what happens to George, who cannot tell a lie and didn't cut the tree down, Tom. We probably will never hear from Jenny or Fred again. Welcome to the stories about Tom and his friends. This is episode 17. Oh, wait a minute. It's not 17. What am I talking about? It's episode 9. So Tom is at the airport today waiting to get on his flight back to Hawaii.
Because he doesn't like the crappy apples from his crappy apple tree. And his friend George, who can't tell a lie and didn't cut the tree down, isn't going with him today.
Penny, who we never will hear from again, and her cat, Todd, are going to be coming with us on the flight, not with us, with Tom, to Hawaii because they want to enjoy some sunshine and some pineapple because his pineapple tree makes crappy apples. So they're going to get on a big plane, sit together, watch some movies, enjoy some coffee.
He's going to put a couple packets of sugar in, not packets, one packet.
So they're on the plane, they put the tray table down, and then they notice that there's crayons on there from really bad behaving kids.
So they wipe it off with some Clorox wipes, and then the flight attendant says, "Thank you for wiping that off," and those kids didn't know how to behave. There were 2 kids, they were this size and this size, and they're really annoying everywhere they go, and then they stamp the table with a fork and pour salt and pepper on there. If if you know those kids, tell them that they're bad kids. And if you are those kids,
don't do that. And your parents should tell you not to do that. So anyways, they get to Hawaii. Those kids are there with them. It ruins Tom and Penny's vacation. That really sucks. So make sure you tune in next time for episode 5. We'll see you then. We'll have more stories about Tom and his friends. And have a great day. This beach community here in the desert. It's really warm outside. And the sunshine is so amazingly bright. So we're here today. You're here today to find out what happens with Tom and George. I cannot tell a lie. I didn't cut that stupid tree down. This is episode 17? Does that sound right, producer?
No, 5.
Episode 9. Okay, we're gonna get on with episode 9. Tom was like, I'm done with this stupid apple tree. And he's like, I don't like this crappy apples. And his friend George, who cannot tell a lie, said, hey, I didn't cut it down, but why don't you go to Hawaii? And Tom says, well, I don't want to go alone. So he's like, why don't you come with me? So they bought some tickets to go fly on an airplane that took him to the islands of Hawaii to enjoy some sunshine, some beaches and waves, cocktails, of course, because that's what everyone should do. Well, only if you're old enough and only if you can handle it. Don't do it if you can't handle it, okay, kids? So they're flying on the airplane off to Hawaii to see the waves and maybe dolphins or whales. What I don't know. Do whales do this? And tell us in the comments below if you think whales do some of this, or if it's just dolphins that do this, or whales that just say hi there. So they're enjoying their time on the beach. They're under the sun. They have some palm fronds fronting them, waving at them, fanning them, and enjoying some cooked pineapple from Duke's of Malibu, but it's in Hawaii, along with some breadsticks. Breadsticks and pineapple are a great combination with some marinara sauce. All you do to make it, you put the marinara sauce in the pan and you stir it with the pahandle. If you don't know what a pahandle is, check out one of the other episodes where we explained what a pahandle is. They're in Hawaii, enjoying it. They decide to go hiking up in the mountains to look at an old abandoned volcano. And inside is where they used to throw people as sacrifices. They don't do that anymore. Now we just throw coconuts in there. Maybe we won't even do that. I don't really know. Do I look like a historian, archaeologist / professor? No, I don't look like any of those things. So they hiked around, they looked at the sky, they saw some clouds, and it began to rain. So they got wet. They didn't have any hats on. They were just wearing shorts and flip-flops. Weren't prepared for the rain. What they were prepared for is that in their Jeep that they rented from the rental car place that rents cars and Jeeps, they had a cooler, those plastic things that have lids on them. You put ice cubes in there, and then you put cold beer in there, or warm beer and it melts the ice, or you put room temperature beer and it will make it colder. They had that in there with bottle caps on it, and luckily they had their pop tops on.
this will open your beer.
Or any other glass bottle that has a metal lid on it, you just open it right there. So luckily, Tom was able to open his, and George used Tom's shirt, even though he didn't cut the tree down, and he can't tell why, and he went, and they enjoyed it in the Jeep while it was raining in Hawaii, and they still said this is way better than being at home with your crappy apple tree, Tom, that makes crappy apples. And Tom said, it sure is, buddy. The sun came out, they got in the Jeep after a reasonable amount of time, and then they said, let's drive on, cowboy! Bumpy mountain road, and the beer was already gone, so they weren't drinking and driving. Down the road back to the hotel, they took a good nap, woke up the next day and said, hey, gotta get back to the mainland, we gotta get out of here. They jammed over to the airport, dropped off that rental car, and they said, sayonara, Hawaii, or aloha, Hawaii. They went through the agriculture inspection of Hawaii that says no bananas and no pineapples or whatever. They didn't even know because they had nothing. They had a few quarters in their pocket. They had their wallet with their identification in it, their flip-flops, and their pop-tops, of course, in case the plane didn't have a bottle opener. So when they're on the plane, they're ready to open everyone's bottle. The flight attendant made the announcement that says, we don't anticipate the need, but if anyone is a medically trained professional or has a pop-top, please let your flight attendant know in case a need arises in this flight. That is the end of this episode. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure to tune in next time so you can see what happens in episode 5. Until then, enjoy the outside. Tune in tomorrow for part 5 of Tom and George. I cannot tell a lie. I didn't cut the tree down to see what happens to them. Okay? George, I cannot tell a lie, didn't cut that tree down. We're cruising along in space after leaving Hawaii. Found that it was kind of bumpy in space and they weren't quite sure how to drive a rocket ship. They'd never driven one before. Flown one before? Whoa, said Tom. What the hell are you doing, George? George said, I don't know, man. I ain't never driven one of these rocket ships before. Apparently, George had some sort of... well, there they go again. George had an accident. Not an accident. Whoa, they might have an accident soon. So finally, Tom and George... Whoa, Tom's going around again. Hey, guy, what you doing? And so finally, maybe finally, they kind of got the hang of this rocket ship, spaceship thingy. Whoa, went over there for a minute. Now we're just cruising along. And they were looking out the window, and then Tom said, hey, George, I cannot tell a lie. You're George. Maybe we should go out and do a spacewalk. So that's exactly what they did. They got on their space suits, and they went out into a spacewalk. Tom went first, floating around in space, like, yeah, that's pretty cool, George. You should come out and join me. George said, all right, man, maybe I will. George floated on by. Tom wiggled a little bit because he's weightless in space. And George said, look at what I can do. I spun around. Tom said, I can do that too. And so he did. They're just chilling in space. Whoa, said George. Where am I going? Whoa. Space is pretty nifty, huh? Tom said, whoa. That's nifty too. They were just hanging out there in space, and along came a crazy space rabbit. They'd never seen a space rabbit before. They didn't know quite what to do with this space rabbit. So, they're just hanging out there looking at the space rabbit. George is crazy and decided to pee on the space rabbit. Probably not the best idea. Space rabbit left. Tom and George got back into their space ship. They were flying along until the space rabbit caught up to them and decided that, hey, I'm not so happy that you peed on me, George. And shot him with his laser. Explosion happened. Wow, that's kind of bad for our friends Tom and George. That might be the end of them. This video was brought to you by Teenanigans, home of the Pop Top, teas with built-in bottle openers. Shop now at teenanigans.com.